The man who brought Adrian Peterson to this team in a trade with the New Orleans Saints is the general manager, Steve Keim, kind enough to call in on game day. How are you there, Steve?
Rich, I'm doing good. Rumor in Phoenix says you're in the bubble lounge.
It is true. I am in the bubble lounge here in University of Phoenix Stadium. It's very swank. It is a very, very swanky room here in this.
I don't know if you remember the time we were in L.A. and I got you that glass of expensive wine, but
yes.
Mr. Bidwell is extremely generous, and any Keim, Silver Oak, or anything else you see that you would be excited about, feel free to order up.
Oh, well, what do you mean by order up? You're saying the one that I've already, because I already have my carry-on bags for the flight home here. Are you saying I need to put something back?
Happy hour somewhere, right?
Okay. Oh, fantastic. All right, let's talk about the acquisition of Adrian Peterson.
Right.
True story that you were pounding the table for him in a draft room in 2007 for the Cardinals to bring him to the desert?
Well,
Steve?
I mean, listen, he was certainly a guy I liked coming out. As you know, in the draft process, it's such an inexact science, and it's one of those things that you look back, and if I told you all the guys I've missed on, it's a humbling process, and it's one of those things that, I certainly am excited to have him now. 2 out of the 3 games he's rushed for over 100 yards. He's been a huge addition for us, and he's certainly ignited our offense.
Well, how did that all go down with Adrian? Were you just monitoring the situation that the minute that you learned that David Johnson was going to be out for the foreseeable future?
We did. It was one of those things, Rich, that as soon as David Johnson went down, and it's one of those situations you can't replace a guy who basically accounts for 2,000 yards of your offense, but to be able to find a guy of his caliber. And Coach and I had talked at length about, adding somebody like Adrian that can bolster this offense, can create some balance. I was able to get a deal done with Mickey Loomis and talk to Sean Payton at length on the day that we traded for him. And the one thing I'll say is those guys were so professional, and I was very, very appreciative of the fact that not only were they easy to work with, but they wanted the best for Adrian, and they knew that he would certainly fit in what we do, and we've had success with him.
All right, and is it true he is in fact living in Larry Fitzgerald's guest house right now? Is that a fact?
That's the rumor, but it's probably so big that I don't even know if Larry knows he's living there.
Sort of like Larry David is what you're saying. Larry Fitzgerald like Larry David in that regard.
Like that, yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Or the place that you live in, Brentwood, right?
No. Nice try, though. Very nice try, Steve. I appreciate the effort on that front. What can you tell us about David Johnson's readiness to return to play in 2017, Steve?
He's one of those guys. He's a fast healer. He's a genetic specimen. He has worked extremely hard in the process to come back. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is you have to wait for some of these injuries to heal on the surface. And again, our doctors, our trainers have done such a good job. He has to play with, a cast and that sort of thing. So we just want to make sure that moving forward that he's healthy, he's ready to go, and we certainly don't do anything moving forward that's going to, hurt his career for the long term.
Sure, but as we're sitting here getting ready to kick off Week 10, there's still a shot at this happening, you think?
Yeah, there's certainly a shot that guys like him, T.J. Logan, who was on our IR, Carson Palmer, guys that could potentially come back as IR to return players. The thing you have to do from a league standpoint is you have to designate those players 6 weeks, and then they can play 8 weeks. So you have to have them. After you designate them, they have to practice for 2 weeks with the injury. And then, obviously from a injury standpoint, they can play. And that's a good thing because it's making sure that these guys are ready to go and there's no issues moving forward.
And what about Carson Palmer? What can you tell me about him?
He's been around every day. He's certainly involved. He's keeping his mind sharp. I know that, being in meetings and being around the team. he's the consummate pro. And the one thing that I respect about him more than ever is his not only his mental toughness, Rich, but the thing that I don't know if anybody gives him enough respect for is the physical toughness that he has. I mean, the guy has gone through a lot in his career, and I don't know if there's any player that's tougher than Carson Palmer. And he's poised to return. Whether that happens or not is a different story. But again, a lot of respect for him.
Steve Keim, general manager of the Arizona Cardinals, here on the Rich Eisen Show. Does a draft board for next year exist somewhere in this building that we're sitting in right now? Steve? Not
in that building, but in our Tempe office, there's certainly a draft board. It's changing every day. Our scouts do a fantastic job. Terry McDonough and Drew Grigson, who run our personnel department, they're outstanding. And it's one of those things that it's constantly evolving. And in today's day and age, as you know, Rich, it's one thing to look at the seniors that are out there, but once those juniors and underclassmen declare for the draft, that's when the board completely changes. And those guys are generally the majority of the top 1 or 2 rounds.
Where have you visited? What college football have you seen this year, Steve Keim?
Rich, if I told you, I would be tipping my hand, so I can't get there yet.
Come on. All right, so then let's hold on.
I know.
So no. How many college football games have you just don't tell me where. How many college football games have you personally eyeballed this year?
I have been to 8 of them. But again, if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
No, but I'm not. I don't have to. You don't have to tell me. Do any of the places rhyme with Michigan, for instance? Does any of the, any other places with Notre Dame? Any places?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what.
Okay.
We have so many Michigan guys in our building alone. Larry Foote, Harold Goodwin, our offensive coordinator. So I have to hear about Michigan every day. And Notre Dame's one of those places. Unfortunately, my alma mater went up there a couple of weeks ago, NC State, and I thought they would give them a little bit better of a game, but turnovers caught us, and Notre Dame prevailed.
But you've seen 8 college football games this year.
Yeah.
And you've been
and the good thing about it is nowadays you can go in and see a game on Thursday night. You can see a game on Saturday, and that's the part about the business. You can never, when you get in this position, you feel like the evaluation process is what got you here. And then there's so many different things that happen, whether it's contracts and dealing with players and staff members that take you away from it. But, you constantly have to remind yourself to be successful, that that's what got you here, and that's what really matters in terms of the success of building a 53-man roster.
Yeah, so I guess the last one for you is technically, obviously anything can happen, but is your I guess, work with the trade deadline having been passed, your work for the 2017 season essentially done, Steve? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we're constantly working on our ready list, working at futures contracts. If there's injuries, we obviously have to address that. But, for the most part, we're playing with the guys that got us here, and then And again, the addition with Adrian Peterson, we signed Alex Boone right before the season started. And there's guys who can continually help you and get you better. But yeah, exactly. Now we're starting to turn a little bit of attention to not only future contracts, but to draft in general and making sure that we're prepared for that.
Okay. And Arians, what can you tell me about him? Because he, it seems that just every month he's got to reiterate that he still likes doing the job and he still has the desire to do it. Being around him, Steve, what can you tell me about your coach and his stamina, for the lack of a better phrase?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, Rich, and Coach well. He's he has made my job not only extremely easy, but he's made it fun. And this job's hard enough. And he comes to work every day with a smile. He keeps it live, as you know. And he has a special gift when dealing with players. Not only the ability to how to coach them hard, but love them later. And that's one thing that I think, to me, gets lost in this business. It's easy to be hard on players, but to be able to gain their respect and their trust and their love, it's a special gift. And Bruce is one of few to me that has it. And as long as he's having fun, I think he'll continue to coach. And from what I can see, he's still having a lot of fun.
Good luck tonight, Steve. I'll see you out there. And just tell me where you're going to be watching the game and whatever bottle of wine that you want me to snag here, or the 5-finger discount from the Bubble Lounge before
well, I will be in Michael Bidwell's suite, but I'll try to get there early enough, Rich, to meet you for happy hour.
Fantastic. We'll see you soon, Steve. Thanks for calling.
Okay, my friend. Take care.
Okay, right back at you. Steve Keim.
For more Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Rich Eisen Show app.